raising hand, okay.
Excuse me. So, welcome to Saturday afternoon class. So, when I was originally asked to teach this, it was Mind and Its Mental Factors was the actual title. And I reviewed the text, and it talks about primary minds and secondary minds. So, for example, I mean, a primary mind would be one, okay, you see an object, you cognize it, so it's primary, and then around that comes secondary thoughts and feelings and whatever, which are secondary to the primary cognition. And so there's a lot of details, and I just thought it was much more of a sort of analytical, intellectual sort of way of looking at the mind, and I didn't see it I mean, I wasn't so comfortable to teach that. You know, I like to make things really practical for us. I mean, we are lay people, we're not, Buddhist scholars, so that is one. And then secondly, for example, if we take, I think it's Vasubandhu was a famous Indian saint and a scholar, and he wrote some variety of texts, one of them I think Abhidharma, which then describes like how, mind moments and secondary minds, primary minds. So, for example, their way of talking, like if a snap of a finger, in that snap, you can have 64 sub-minds or secondary minds, which are sort of functioning around that to, give you the experience of the phenomena that you cognized, okay? His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I believe it was in Harvard Medical School, went there, and they have the equipment to go and see the brain respond to phenomena, and it was obvious that like there's 1,000 sub things get stimulated, whether consciously or unconsciously, when you have a cognition of something. So I mean, Dalai Lama just said it. I mean, obviously, for 2,000 years ago, they were pretty smart, but now we have incredible equipment to go and analyze the movement and the energy and such of the mind. So, we should really move forward. And, so His Holiness supports a more scientific approach to things. So that's one. And so anyway, with that in mind, I thought, well, okay, mind and its functions. So let's talk about how to make our mind function well. I mean, that's really good. So we have two techniques we use. One is called wisdom and one is called compassion. And so on the side of wisdom is what, the way that it's referred to is, and when I'm in Mexico, we can't translate really, but it means to be cool. The definition of wisdom is to be cool. Now, what that means is not hot. Okay, so what's hot? Hot is anger, hot is jealousy, hot is competitiveness, hot is it's all those more intensive delusions. And so when you practice with wisdom, you cool down. That's literally the way it's referred to. And so nirvana is, it's called the great peace, or you call it very fresh. It is the most fresh, that you don't have the heat of delusions messing you up. So wisdoms help you do that. So they say keep you cool, okay, especially here in Boise where it's almost 100. Anyway, so how would that work? Okay, and again, this is just a light review, but for example, wisdom, okay, what's wisdom? Wisdom's an understanding of the nature of something. So the first wisdom that we come up with Buddhism is impermanence. Things change. So when you have a harsh situation, difficult situation, something that could heat you up, get you upset, then you say, okay, it's impermanent. Wait 5 minutes, wait 2 hours, whatever. It's not. I don't need to exaggerate it. I can stay cool. So the impermanence is one of the first wisdoms, which is very beneficial. And I remember a Tibetan Lama once gave the example of like, if you were traveling and you had to stay in a hotel, and the hotel was very noisy, but you're going to a very good destination. And so that night you're not at the destination, but you have to stay in this hotel for one night. Maybe it's noisy, it's not a very comfortable hotel, but it's, you could get upset, but hey, you're only there for one night. And that's the point, is it's impermanent. I'm only here for one night, why get upset? And so then the next morning you go off on your journey to where you really want to go. So that's I mean, the application of things will change, things are impermanent, don't exaggerate them. So it keeps you cool. The second one, causes and circumstances. Again, it's a wisdom, it's an understanding you bring to a situation. And so for all of us, if something's happening, there's causes and circumstances. Now, you could get very, well, let's say esoteric about it, but let's just be practical, you know? So for example, you're in a particular situation, it's not nice. Well, you can say, okay, well, there's causes and circumstances, it's not arbitrary. I mean, the things that might seem to be arbitrary is that, you know, maybe you walk out to your car and somebody mugs you or steals your purse, you know, and you think, you know, why me? You know, what happened? And you might think that, like, that was just sort of, you know, luck of the draw or whatever, or bad luck of the draw. You know, those ones are a little harder to, you know, clarify with, you know, to say clearly. But certainly, I mean, you know, for example, if we get a health issue, well, there's causes and circumstances, whether it's your genetics, something coming from your mom and dad, something in your diet, something you got exposed to, all sorts of possibilities, some causes and circumstances. But again, always you can turn around and say, I can put new causes and circumstances. So the thing is, it's not like it's a dead-end street. There was a story of actually an American friend of mine that was in Kathmandu, and that's a, you know, very Buddhist country and things like that. So she was down in, I think, Swayambhunath stupa, and she was circumambulating a really big stupa there. And there was one man was chopping some wood, and his chopped, and the axe deflected and hit him in the leg and cut his leg wide open, and he fell over and he's lying on the ground bleeding, and all these Nepalese just stood around looking at him. You know, they just all stood there. And he's trying to think. And Chi Ram says, what's happening? He says, oh, he cut his leg. He says, why don't you do anything? Oh, no, but it's his karma. You know, that's really fatalistic. But then she said, well, if that's his karma, this is my karma. And she called a taxi, stuck them in a taxi, and took them to the hospital. So the point, though, is that when we have something ripening, whether we have an illness come up, or whether there's a situation in the family, again, your wisdom can keep you cool. Oh, okay, there's some causes and circumstances. Maybe they're not nice ones, but I guess, you know, whether for a misunderstanding or a lack of intelligence or something, somebody allowed something to progress, and then finally they're hit with it. And so it's not like arbitrary. No, there were circumstances and there was nothing done to change it. So with ourselves, if we have something start ripening, you know, something starts to happen, from the wisdom of causes and circumstances, it's not arbitrary. You know, okay, it's ripening, I can put new causes and circumstances, and that keeps you cool. You know, and I mean, nowadays, my word, I mean, you know, I suffer from acid reflux. Thank God for Tums, you know, or thank Buddha for Tums, you know. And then I'm in Mexico, we don't have I have no cause for allergy. In Canada, I used to get horrible allergy attacks. Well, I fly in here on Wednesday night, and suddenly I'm sneezing repeatedly, like 6, 7 times in a row, you know. But, you know, thank Buddha, thank God. There's allergy pills. Oh, we're so lucky, you know. So you could sit there and say, it's my karma to have allergy. I have to accept it because I'm working my karma out. But that's one way you could look at it, maybe. But the other side, you could say, well, I have the karma to have access to those pills. Why not take them? You know what I mean? Again, but the point though is, and this is good for all of us. So whether it's a physical thing that's coming up, or whether it's an emotional thing, simply family members or something like that, or whatever, or, you know, maybe, you know, statewide, government-wide, countrywide or something's happening, it's not arbitrary. There's causes and circumstances, you know, and whether they were good causes and circumstances or not, it's happening. So then you can say, from my side though, I'm going to create new causes and circumstances. So it keeps you cool. So that's wisdom number 2. Wisdom number 3 is an interesting one. It sort of has 2 facets, which is essentially, again, not so linear cause and circumstance, rather holistically. interdependence. So something's manifesting. Okay, it's impermanent, it'll change. And something's happening. Okay, I can put new causes and circumstances into this. Okay. Then finally is this, okay, it's interdependent. Now interdependent, it enhances things that are cause, or something happening as a cause and circumstance by saying it is open. It's not like on a track that has no options. It is open to other influences. So that's reason, for example, if you take medicine, it can stop the allergy attack. Now obviously you could say, well, that's just karma, and it's a cause and circumstance. But it's a little more profound to just say, no, there's some interdependence. That medicine affects my, I don't know, whatever it would be that causes the allergy attack and my nose running and all of those things. So, okay, so then you say, okay. So interdependence is this more holistic, round, full way of looking at causes and circumstances. And so therefore, if you have, let's say, positive thoughts and feelings, it will affect you constructively. And I mean, a good example of that would be is just that having a good attitude about your life creates health. Why? Because you're happy and your body picks up on that. You are a holistic event. You are a interdependent event, having happy thoughts. So maybe one, just being at peace with yourself. That's nice to be no, I don't mean, again, apathetically or just sort of, oh yeah, peace, man, like that, or I don't know, with CBD oil or something like that. Maybe that's okay. But anyway, the point is that it's like, okay, peace, then just have a happy attitude about life. I mean, yes, sometimes bad things happen, but okay, I've got a good attitude. And it's so interesting because your body responds to that. I mean, maybe it's not dramatic, but the thing is your body does respond. So it's positive thoughts from the point of view of one, okay, it's a cause and circumstance, but two, it's because all of my internal organs are interdependent. And so therefore having a good attitude about life. And then, I mean, if we're going to talk a little bit about karma tomorrow, but just to touch on that, let's just say you want to do a purification practice. That's a very common practice in Buddhism. So purification practices are something like doing prostrations or doing a Vajrasattva practice where you visualize a Buddha on your crown and nectar flows into you and washes away your negativity. Those are two purification. But rather than saying purification, it's the same. The example is like a glass half full or a glass half empty. A glass half empty is you're looking at a little bit negatively, like, okay, I have something I have to purify, and I have to get rid of that. A glass half full is you're doing something positive. You're filling yourself up with good energy. So, for example, doing prostrations could be, I mean, it's not supposed to be, but it could be like penance, like, oh, I've been a bad boy or a bad girl in the past, I prostrate to you, and things. And there's physical, verbal, and mental karma in doing a prostration. But you could turn that around, and again, it's how you're looking at it, perspective. And you're saying, well, the Buddhas are incredible beings, and bodhisattvas, and maybe some teachers I have. So when I do a prostration to them, I'm venerating them. I'm excited about them. I think they're wonderful. Again, whatever Buddha or spiritual being that you wish to go and do that prostration to, it's joy. I have this opportunity to do a prostration in front of you, and I'm really happy to do that because you embody so many wonderful qualities that I think are great. Now, if you did that, you're actually purifying, but you're not focused in the way of purification. You're focused on being really incited and enthused by some Buddha, some practice or something like that. If you took again, some of you are familiar with Vajrasattva practice. It's a very common practice. You put a Buddha on the crown of your head. You normally feel that's inseparable with your guru, and then you feel that from that, then water or nectar flows down and washes your nervous system inside and your internal organs and everything down to your feet. And then having completed that, then you feel that the nectar flows down, hits your pelvic floor, and then fills you up with nectar. And all the negativity comes out your nose and mouth and such like that, disappears. And then finally, the third one is that the nectar flows down, hits your heart, and like electric switch being turned on, suddenly your body is clear and free of negativity. So that's, again, you could do it with like, I like to be free of negativity and such. But there's a more profound way of doing that. It's perspective. The being on your crown of your head is called the Buddha Vajrasattva, but it should be seen as being inseparable with your guru. All the Buddhas are manifestations of the guru, okay? And the mantra, now then when you look at the mantra, it's 100 syllables, it's really long. So, for example, it would be Om Vajra Heruka Samyamanu Palaya Heruka Teno Vardigadrito Mevo Sutuka Mevo Supoga Mevo Anurakta Mevo. Yeah, I'm not going to do the whole thing. But what it means is, you Vajrasattva have a commitment to help me. You want to help me. Please be with me, please love me, please care for me, please help me deal with situations, make my mind most powerful, make me have great capacity. That's what you're saying in the mantra. So you could turn around and say, I want that. So when you're saying the mantra, it's not like wash my dirty things away, wash my negativity and things like that. You could turn around and say, fill me up with bliss. and what are you doing? You're getting rid of your problems, and especially if you feel like, let's say if you put the Dalai Lama on the crown of your head, then you would say, well, his compassion, the Chinese invaded and destroyed his country. He has compassion for them. He doesn't get angry. So I want you to give me your wisdom, understanding, your qualities and such. So please, fill me up with the nectar, and such. So again, perspective, is the glass half full, is the glass half empty? Interesting, isn't it? So in regards to working with ourselves and such, it's really important to appreciate there's a variety of ways to doing anything. Okay, so we're talking about wisdom. So wisdom of interdependence is that if you have, let's say, a really good heart feeling, like love and compassion for all, okay, and you really hold that feeling, not just the idea, but you let yourself be filled up with love or affection or sincere feelings, your whole body is connected to that. It's going to be affected. An example I always give is, tonight we're going to go to a really nice restaurant and have, I don't know, vegetarian salad, I don't know, whatever it is. And you just have the idea, you're not even there, but your mouth salivates. This power of just an idea, and you salivated, Or maybe you have a hot date with somebody who's really special, and you think about it and your body gets goosebumps, This is the power of a thought. So when you have a really positive thought, like for example, you have some deeper feeling about a Buddha or Bodhisattva or whatever, it's affecting you. So we're going to move into that. That's what the second class is about, is how to generate really nice positive feelings, which are not unrealistic, that can help you deal with your life. And as I say, create this positive holistic effect. So your wisdom of interdependence helps you have that capacity. Because you can say, all my internal organs are interconnected with all my other internal organs, and they're all interconnected with the way I'm thinking about stuff. So I'm going to have some really happy, positive thoughts. His Holiness the Dalai Lama once made a comment. He said, there's a practice called the medicine Buddha. It's a blue Buddha. And he said, we put it this way. He said, when you get sick, yes, you can do the medicine Buddha, but you should really just go to the hospital. And so, he's not discounting the practice of medicine Buddha, because it is a practice of faith and positive feelings. But, also just be realistic about it. Go to the hospital if you have a problem. So anyway, the long and the short is that interdependence is something good. And it just means if I have a positive feeling in my heart, really sincere, I can affect and change how some of my organs are working. And in Mexico, we have a lot of people. Like there's one lady, she had cancer. They took the x-rays and stuff, and she definitely had cancer in her lungs or something like that. I forget what exactly the detail was. But she was very religious, very devoted to Guadalupe. Did a lot of prayers and practice for Guadalupe. And 2 months later had the same x-ray and all the cancer was gone. I guess you need to have a really strong faith for that, but there's lots of stories. In fact, actually, a long time ago, as a friend of mine, I think it was Thupten Pende, he had a lady friend. She was a really intense, like she was a AAA personality, you know, like really into heavy duty business and this and that. She smoked a lot, just very intensive. She had 2 or 3 clothing stores and stuff. And then she suddenly got analyzed with having cancer in her lungs. You know, they're really in bad shape. She was only like 40 years old. Anyway, and so she went to a Tibetan Lama. It was actually Geshe Geltsen, who lived in Los Angeles. And she said, well, what can I do? And he said, well, okay, we'll take some herbal medicine. You know, she didn't do chemo. That was the thing. She didn't want to do chemo. So she said, well, take some herbal medicines. These are good. But what I want you to do is to go, because just outside of Los Angeles, they have these huge cattle ranches where all the cows are being waiting to be slaughtered. And you can actually sort of, you know, position yourself where you can watch them go down the chute where they're going to go into this building. Now, you can't see them, but that's where then there's this hammer thing, bang, and it puts a bolt or a thing through their brain, kills them outright, and then they're dragged off and cut up into the meat forest. So he said, I want you to go there and be close where you can see these animals going in the chute towards where they're going to be killed. And I want you to feel that you, like, just inhale that. Just as you're sitting there watching that, like, just inhale that. Inhale it onto your lungs. Exhale back love to those dear cows, you know. I mean, they don't want to die, you know. So that she had to do that. So she did that for 2 months. And she did it with she went down onto the wharves where there was fish being taken off the boats. And she'd do the same thing with fish. Anyway, she did that for 2 months, along with herbal medication and a bunch of other things. Went and had the x-ray taken, no cancer in her lungs. That's a true story. I mean, it's a friend of mine, so I can validate that. And she's still alive, so the thing is, it's interesting. So anyway, I'm just sharing with you that that we are interdependent. Our body and our mind and everything is all interdependent. So that can be very effective. So yes, things change. Yes, I can put new causes and circumstances. Yes, I'm interdependent. All of those things give me positive construct, positive, construction, a positive point of view context. Okay, so so all of those keep us cool. And then, of course, if you finally attain nirvana, it's called everlasting peace, which is considered to be very cool, very fresh, and such like that. It just means that you have no more basis for the delusions, the anger and the hatred or whatever else might come up. Okay, so that's that's where today's class was. Is okay. We have the mind, and it's an interesting way of looking at it. Then we have the philosophy, that, you know, different philosophies. So we're all just vibrating atoms, or that we have, you know, that our mind is the creator of our experience, or then it just we're in a universal ocean of interdependence. That's a really brief way of looking at those 4 philosophies. Okay, so we've done that, and then now we've moved into, okay, well, let's apply that. So the first thing I talked about right now is wisdoms that keep you cool, not heating you up, not burning you. Okay. Second thing, now we're going to talk about techniques. Okay. So, but just before I start that, questions, commentaries, thoughts, feelings, whatever. If you have a question. Yes. You're the best because you always ask questions.
The first line here says the disadvantage of being egocentric. And I was wondering, when you're talking about how good it is for our bodies and for our sense of being to be in that cool down state, in that wide state. So there's some reason, though, even though there's a disadvantage and that feels better, we still are egocentric. Why do we? I mean, I understand it's my habits, but I know, like, if I have righteous indignation, something kicks in, like dopamine or something that feels good.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'll talk about that in a little bit. That's actually the next subject. So you have a big commentary on that one in a few minutes. So we'll hold on that one. Any other questions, commentaries? Excuse me. Okay. Opportunity's over. Okay, so the paper I gave you, 2 techniques of altruism, bodhicitta. Now, the reason I don't want to emphasize that like we're all going to become Mother Teresa or I don't know some great saint or something like that, but these thoughts are altruistic because they're of a big quality. Anyway, they're a larger perception concept, okay? But these rely on certain fundamentals in Buddhism, okay? So the basis, all sentient beings want happiness and to avoid suffering. Now that one for me helps me so much, you know, why? Because when I'm in a situation with somebody who's in whatever way obnoxious or difficult or whatever, I just have to say that's their way of thinking to be happy. You know, it doesn't mean that they're right. It's just that that's what they're doing. So that's why the second line there says, some sentient beings have skillful means to accomplish this, happiness, and some beings not. So for example, I mean, the easiest one is anger. If you think anger is going to solve your problems, yes, slightly it can maybe, in an initial moment, maybe stop a situation. But it makes you uncomfortable. Your blood pressure goes up, you get all upset, you're red in the face, all those things like that. And it definitely makes people nervous to be around you. You know, if you're really an angry person, they avoid you, you know. So where's the benefit? Short term, maybe there's a little bit of benefit. Bigger perspective, no, there's no benefit. Anger is not a beneficial way to solve a problem. You know, and again, all you have to do is say, this will change. There's causes and circumstances why it came up. But being in a really practical way, just looking at somebody who's doing something. So somebody who's going to steal from your car, they just think that'll make them happy. You know, no, I don't want you to steal from my car, but maybe I was not very smart. I put something on the back seat where I should have put it in the trunk of the car, then they can't see it, but I didn't do that. No, I put it in the back seat because I didn't think it mattered, and then somebody broke the window and they stole the thing, okay? So on one side, I made a cause and circumstance, and then 2, that person who thought stealing my something or other from the back of my car would make them happy. So that's really an interesting way of looking at it. So people that use unskillful technique thinking that that'll make them happy. And you can literally start off with this morning when you woke up. What was the first thing you did? Like maybe you got a glass of water or maybe you went to the bathroom because you thought, oh, this will make me feel better. You know, and then you maybe took your medications or maybe you didn't. You know, then you went to the kitchen and you got yourself a cup of coffee because you said, oh, this will make me happy. You know, and then you brushed your teeth. You know, that sort of seems normal, common sense, but no, the thing is you like your mouth to feel clean, makes me happy. Then you had a shower maybe, because it makes you feel happy. You know, all the things you did, the clothes you picked, like every one of you, for the clothes you picked this afternoon, you looked at your closet, maybe you had like some blouses and some pants and whatever. Oh, I like that one today, because it made you feel happy. And it's a really interesting thing to sort of start recognizing the movement of you as you go through life. Is sort of, if I do this, I'll be happy, and if I do that, I'll be happy, and if I have a coffee, I'll be happy, and like that. Okay, so when you get that about yourself, then look at the next person. They're doing the same thing, you know, but we're all unconscious. But it really helps to ground yourself to not say, well, why is that person so rude? Well, because they're just thinking that's going to make them happy, and that's sad. You know, that's it's not actually that you don't have pity for them, but you have compassion for them, because if you know yourself when you've done something a bit too aggressive because you wanted it really badly because you thought that would make you happy, if you can catch that in yourself, then you'll be able to see somebody else who's being rude or pushy or something, and you go, I know you because you're just like me. And you could actually have sincere love for that person. I'm serious. But that takes time. But the thing is that's thing. So for both of the altruistic techniques, that really is a foundation that's so good to put in place. So when someone cuts you off on the road in your car, you know, they're thinking that'll make them happy. You know, if somebody, you know, I don't know, does something, whatever, they're just thinking that'll make them happy. And it doesn't have to be that it'll create real happiness, but they do that, okay? So get that in place. You know, I mean, for example, I mean, again, I'm married, sometimes I make my wife angry, you know. Anyway, and so just when she's upset with me, I can just, you know, I don't criticize her or something, I just say, yeah, you know, I've hit a button. And that's, you know, by the way the decision she made to how to deal with Jampa was the thing that she thought this will make her happy. You know, it's, if you think, oh, that's such a nice person, he's such a good Buddhist teacher, just live with him. Don't have another idea. My wife has great patience for me. Anyway, so that's the first step, just you get that in place. It just, like I said, the clothes you're wearing this afternoon, what you had for lunch today. Oh, if I have the pad thai, I'll be happy. If I had I don't know, a hamburger at Sonic, I'd be happy. You know, just, silly little things, you know. When you parked your car here, you thought, oh, can I find shade? I want to park my car in shade because it'll make me happy, you know. And you couldn't. No, I'm unhappy, you know. So it's interesting, you know. And then if somebody else dashes into the space that has the shade, you know, oh, why do you do that? I wanted that space, you know, because they wanted to be happy. It's really interesting. Okay, that's a really good way of just looking at things. Now, that doesn't mean people take advantage of you. It doesn't mean that you have to be the doormat of the world. Nothing like that. It just means you see people in that perspective, and it gives you a better way of looking at things, okay? And again, whether somebody's a thief or someone's a drug addict or someone's does something really, really inappropriate, you don't condone it, but you can say, you know, I feel sorry for you, I have compassion for you because you thought that would make you happy. Okay, so it puts it in a context that helps you stay a reasonable amount of equilibrium. If it gets a little too close to home, maybe that's difficult, but certainly in general terms, that idea can be very beneficial, okay? Now, so that's the foundation of altruism. First is all of us, myself, the insects in this room, the mosquitoes, the dogs and cats, the birds, all of them just want to be happy, don't want to suffer. That's the view you have. That's really powerful, okay? Now, this 5 steps of attitude transformation. Now, this comes back to keeping yourself happy. I mean, I'm not talking about the egocentric happy. I'm talking about that, like, you feel good about who you are. You wake up in the morning and you have a good context about your life. That's part of the interdependence of your mind, your attitude, and your body. It is a good cause and circumstance. And if you maintain that over a period of years, you will have good things, because it's a change. So those are your wisdoms. Things change. Okay, I've got a good attitude. That'll change me slowly. I am creating good causes and circumstances. I am interdependent. I will affect both my body and my mind. Okay, so that's why we're talking about this. Okay, so the disadvantages of being egocentric. Now, there's something really interesting, and you will not understand yourself until you have enough merit. Now, what's that mean? Okay, those are really fancy Buddhist words. So what it means is, until you have enough positive energy in yourself, and I mean having a happy attitude, a good attitude, a positive attitude, until you have a sufficient level of that, you will not understand your own errors, because you don't have a place for it yet. You have to build up a lot of positive thoughts and feelings, and then one day you suddenly go, oh, so what's a couple of examples for that? Okay, so, you know, our culture, we call it the 3 C's. Our culture is capitalistic, consumer, and competitive. Now, we go to school, who's getting better marks? I'm not getting better marks, so it's competitive. Then who gets, who has, if you're going to college, university, who has a nicer car, who rides a bicycle, who has a motorcycle, or this and that, and then again, who has better marks, and then who can buy things, who has more money. That's really our culture. It's a pretty sad culture to have it this that. But okay, that's the consumer capitalism culture. So we are inclined to be egocentric. And I use the word egocentric, which means focused on yourself. Okay, so we don't want to talk about ego. We just want to talk about, okay, an attitude that is egocentric. So an example of that is, let's say you're talking to somebody, and like Michael comes up to me and says, hey, John, I went to, I don't know, one of these stores, and I got this really nice shirt, I really like it, it feels really comfortable, And then my response was, oh, well, I went to this other store and I got it for 50% off. Why did I do that? He's talking about how happy he was, and I'm egocentric, and I wouldn't recognize it because I'm just saying, oh, you should have gone to so-and-so, would have gotten it 50% off, So, it depends on how you say things, but the point is that being egocentric is it's all about you, and so somebody says something like, I bought something really nice, and then you don't rejoice at what they've done and how they're happy. You immediately refer it back to yourself and say, well, I got a better deal, or whatever, So the egocentric's really funny one. Or being judgmental, that's a really nasty one, and it's well, I'll share something. I've shared it a bunch of times, but I'll share it again because it's really thing. Okay, so I've been practicing a long time, and my dream life's very active, and I have a lot of interesting characters in my dreams, which have been repetitive, showing up. So finally, anyway, I had from high school, my English teacher, Mr. Long, started showing up in my dreams. And I liked him, he was a nice enough teacher, but in my dreams, he always was failing me. I didn't do a very good job on this test or this and that. And he, I always fail, and went on for years, and I could sit there and what the hell is Mr. Long, and, okay, I'm being examined and I'm failing, and I don't know what I'm being examined about. I just can't get it. I just don't understand what's wrong with me, And it bugs me that I wake up again and again with Mr. Long and it failed another test, It's just so bothersome, Anyway, so then luckily one day, we went up into the Sierra Madre. It was a group of 8 of us. There's 4 couples, okay? And we went up and we were doing stuff and things, and we're all sleeping in the same house. It's a big house with lots of bedrooms, And then I hear this, one of the couples, a wife, and she's whining. And I can't say it, but just like, whiny, like this, And I turned around to Raquel and I says, God, can you hear that, man? He's just like, he's such a whiny woman, oh my God, And then that night I had a dream, and Mr. Long just creamed me. I just think, and I woke up in the morning and I went like, got it, I'm judgmental. I was so judgmental of her. And I was really quite intense about it. I thought, that is so pathetic, the way she talks. Doesn't she understand herself? Because I'm such a virtuous Buddhist, I would never talk that way, Anyway, so I share that because for me, it was like a big, wow. But I've been having dreams with Mr. Long for 15 years. I never had enough karma to see that I was judgmental. That's what I'm getting at. You just share that you need to actually develop quite a bit of positive karma, just positive thoughts and feelings, not good positive feelings, and then you might be able to understand something about yourself where you always trip and fall. Interesting.
Have you had another dream since?
Actually, yeah. Now I dream of him, and he's very friendly to me. No, I'm serious, and I wake up and I'm happy. Mr. Long likes me. Although actually though, I remember, this is actually about a month ago, I had a Mr. Long in a dream, and he showed up, and I graduated, it was high school that I had him as a teacher, so I graduated and everything, but I said to him, I really want to come back to your class because I'd like to be able to write better. And he said, well, maybe. So, I guess I still have, I can improve myself a little bit. But anyway, it is interesting, and dreams are very good for signposts. When you have a dream, it can indicate something. Again, how much you understand it just depends on how much your own karma is, but the thing is, it can be a bit of a signpost. Generally speaking, if you have a nightmare, there's something in the daytime that you wanted to avoid. So if you, in the nighttime, you wake up and your heart's palpitating and you're just really upset about something, whatever, like that was a nightmare. Then what you do is immediately think on the previous day, what did I try to avoid? What did I make into a monster that I wanted to avoid and escape from? And what your mind does, and I don't know why, but your mind turns around and it kicks up a nightmare because you were not dealing with that situation very well. And so your mind says, you're not doing well enough. Hey, this is for you to, I don't know, think about. Okay, so it's interesting. I highly recommend anytime you have a bad dream is to immediately think of what did I do the last day that really was my avoidance. I made it into a monster and I didn't want it to be there. Okay, so it's an interesting sort of way to do it. But anyway, so the disadvantages of egocentric. I mean, I'd say most of us are not too egocentric, but if you just find somebody that is quite egocentric, like, I mean, oh, I'm buying a new house in that neighborhood. And they present, well, I live in a much better neighborhood. You should move over there, like that. Always like this. It's always about them, their possessions, their car, their job, their money, whatever. That's what it means to be egocentric. And like, is it that much fun to be around somebody like that? I mean, it's not like a judgment. It's just the disadvantages of if somebody says something to you about how happy they are, be happy for them. That's the thing. So the disadvantages of being egocentric mainly is just try to be more conscious of that other people like to be happy as much as you, and you don't have to be competitive or whatever it might be. Okay, so that's point number one. Number two is caring for others. I should have changed that. I didn't need to put that in there. But the advantages of being more interdependent. Okay, and what that just means is when you have good connections, things happen. So if you're egocentric, it's like you meet people and how can I manipulate them or how can I use them so that I can get ahead, whatever, or I'm the top dog or whatever it might be, the egocentric attitude. Well, the advantages of caring for others, sorry, I should have changed it. It should have been like, I am with others. I am, sharing appreciation of others. And why? Because if you're a really nice person, people will go out of the way to help you. It's not that like you want that. You say, hey, I want everybody to like me, No, just be a nice person. And if you're having a hard time, somebody will come up and give you a hug or something. Maybe they'll invite you for coffee because you're a nice person. And they can pick up, oh, you're unhappy right now. So it's the second point is recognize the advantages of being a nice person, being a friendly person, being a supportive person, however you want to phrase it, because it's connections. And if you think about your life, most of the good things in your life was maybe because somebody said something and put you in connection with something. Sort of interesting, connections are really big. And then there's magic. Again, I'll talk about myself, but okay, 3 weeks ago, I started to faint, or not, I started to get dizzy, and I've had open heart surgery, so fine and dandy, whatever. So, and that was so interesting because I'd be walking with my wife. We walked 3 kilometers every morning. And so I was walking and I would burp and suddenly get dizzy, and I'd have to actually grab my wife's shoulder, and I think that's really weird, and so I don't know why. So anyway, I got an appointment with my doctor. And he said, oh, okay, maybe you're having some problem with your heart. So I got my cardiologist, got to see him. Anyway, and he said, yeah, like when you burp, actually, your heart and your lungs pause for a moment. And that's why you got dizzy, okay? But I think that you have an arrhythmia, and I think you need a pacemaker. So, okay, that's a bit much, okay. Anyway, so fine, I guess if that's what I need. And he gave me a really heavy medication. So that was on Monday. So I went to see him on Monday, and he said, okay, you got an arrhythmia, the solution is a pacemaker, it's only going to cost you $10,000, and here's the medication. But okay, I mean, you're my cardiologist, I've been with you for about 10 years, I trust you. So I went home, and this is connections, okay? And this, I have to say, there's sort of magic. So Tuesday morning, I have this friend of mine, he's an American fellow, he moved to Panama. And so about 7 years ago, he met me and he said, oh, you live in Mexico? And I said, yeah, I love it. This is a great country, it's peaceful, beautiful, warm people. And he said, oh, I like that. I'm going to retire, so maybe I'm going to move. And I said, well, sure, okay, I'll give you as much information as I can. But he picked Panama for whatever reason, I don't know. But anyway, so he picked Panama. But I helped him, give him advice on, how to do this and that and how to assimilate to a new culture and things. So he moved, and we would chit chat for, 2 or 3 years. So anyway, I haven't heard from him for a year. So Tuesday morning, I get a message from John. Hi, John, how you doing? I said, oh, hi, John. Gee, I haven't seen you for a while. I got to have a pacemaker. Really? Can I see your papers, like the ECGs and the blood work, please? And I said, well, thanks, John. Actually, I know you're a doctor. That's kind of you. I sent it to him, and he wrote back literally within 24 hours, says, Jampa, you don't need a pacemaker. You have this certain type of an arrhythmia. Pacemaker is going to damage your heart and put you in a worse position. I said, really? He says, yeah. Please, your thyroid's wrong. Get your thyroid medication changed. And it was true. I hadn't had my thyroid checked for like 2 years, and my dosage was too low, and that affects a lot of your organs. I didn't know that at the time, but anyway, so he said that, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I don't need a pacemaker, I'm not sure. And then I went to my GP because I had a bit of pain in my groin, and I thought, maybe I have a hernia, I don't know. Anyway, and he checked my groin. He said, no, you don't have a hernia, but my blood pressure was like at 100 over 180, and my heart was beating at 30. And he says, what are you doing? And I said, well, I don't know. I feel a little tired, but I don't know what's going on. And he said, no, what medication are you taking? And it was this beta blocker. It made my heart go down to 30 beats a minute. And because the beat was so slow, my blood pressure was jacked up because I wanted to get the blood back into my body. It's interesting how incredible our body is. Anyway, so we canceled the pacemaker was supposed to happen on a Saturday. We canceled that. We changed my medication and got everything under control. But all of that for a connection with a nice guy. And that's why the magic is, I didn't ask him to say anything. He sort of picked up maybe something's wrong with Jampa. I don't know, it's a bit fantastical, but still, it saved me $10,000. And right now I'm on a better med. But anyway, so connections. The advantages of caring for others, the advantages of being a nice person, the advantages of being friendly, of being supportive, of offering yourself for others. That just sets up this web of connections with good people. And I just shared this silly story of myself, but I sort of sit there and I think like, wow, I was blessed, thank you, for whatever reason. Okay, anyway. So advantages of caring for others. So being egocentric, and it's sometimes hard to recognize where you're egocentric, especially like being judgmental or being competitive, whatever. There's funny ways of being egocentric. Caring for others. Connections are really good, and authentic ones, not like I'm going to be friendly because I want to be a winner. No, hey, everybody wants to be happy. Nobody likes to suffer. I'll be a friendly person, and you get lots of good connections. Okay, now the ability to exchange self with others. That is a little bit, you have to be careful with that one. The word, again, it's not the best translation. And the next one is taking and giving, which is a breathing meditation. So what you would do with that is that those two come together. And so in your meditation, you inhale your interdependence with the world and you exhale back kindness. Okay, so go back to that lady I mentioned that had the lung cancer, and she'd have to go to the abattoir, where they kill the cows, and she had to inhale the cows and send back love to them, which is pretty painful for her. She didn't like that, but she did it. And somehow that changed the chemistry in her body and got rid of the cancer. And that's a true story, okay? She had to do it for 2 months, and she had to be sincere and authentic, and a whole bunch of stuff there. But the thing is, it did, it had changed. So the breathing meditation isn't like, I become Michael. No, I could empathize with Michael. Maybe I can understand him if he's got some problem. And if not, Michael's my buddy, we both like to be happy, none of us like to suffer, So the point is that the breathing meditation, there's great elaborations on it, but the simple version is, I am interdependent with the universe, I inhale, and who am I? I'm a nice person. I try to exhale kindness, okay? That's the meditation, okay? Now, if you have, for example, with my heart, I could, for example, say, hey, there's a whole bunch of people out there that have heart pain. I inhale, and may they all have freedom of heart pain. So maybe that helps heal my heart a little bit. I mean, who knows? So that's a very interesting meditation, and it's very beneficial. And the simplest version of it is just, hey, I am interdependent with the world. I inhale, you can say thank you to the farmers, the potato farmers of Idaho. Thank you for Albertsons. Thank you for all of the factors of the good things that happen here. And may I be a nice person in Boise, Idaho. Inhale, like, wow, thank you so much for all the good things. Exhale back, may I offer a good relationship to everybody. Okay, now, the only thing I'd say, the small note on that is always be intelligent. You're not just going to sort of give somebody $100 or do something extravagant. Just be intelligent is what is most suitable for somebody. But that is a good attitude to have, okay? So I think that covers just what I wanted to say for just now. But questions, commentaries, stories? Yes, John.
John, I did have a request from somebody, and I'll leave this to your discretion, that maybe like right around this mark, since you're right at the break, maybe you could walk around for 5 minutes or so.
Do a walking meditation.
Yeah, or maybe just not what we think.
Well, I learned that moving helps you store memory, so I thought maybe we take a break halfway through and just get up and walk around a little bit.
Yeah, actually, you're right. One of the best courses you could do is neurology, like what your brain does. So, for example, if you keep losing your keys, what you have to do is, you walk in your house, if you put your keys on the counter, then jump up and down 2 times. No, I'm serious, because you will remember where you put the friggin' keys. No, and it's like that, or like you walk in, put your keys down, and do that, but you have to consciously clap your hand or something like that. So yeah, you're right, like doing something to add to a particular activity or a particular idea you have is powerful. Okay, so yes, we can do that maybe, yes. Any other questions, shares, commentaries? So just to do a quick summation of this, just to review the things, okay? We talked about wisdom's keeping us cool. That's point number 1. 2 is, we talked a little bit about, is my glass half full, is my glass half empty, which is our perspective about our spiritual practice. Is it about me purifying, or about me becoming a more, energized, good, happy person? So that's 2. And then part of that is my relationship with the world around me. And the foundation for that is all of us want to be happy. None of us like to suffer. So even people who do really obnoxious things, they're just an object of compassion, because they're just thinking that's how I'm going to be happy. And so it gives you a really good context at dealing with people that are complicated. So that's 1. And some people are good at at pursuing happiness, and some of them are really bad, using anger, manipulativeness, or whatever, deception. Okay. Then we move into being egocentric. It's all about me and what I want. Not the best technique. Not the most friendly way. You will have friends, but the thing is, if you're a nice person and you're friendly and supportive, point number 2, you'll have a lot better connections. People will actually offer to help you rather than you having to ask. Okay, then the ability to exchange self and others, and taking and giving. That was just, you inhale the environment around you and you exhale back. May you have happiness, the cause of happiness. It's a simple version of it. And then you arrive at what's called bodhicitta, which is altruism, that you're a nice person. You're a beneficial person in society. Okay, so that's the first section, of which I've now opened it. Yes?
So does this follow the format that's in the Lao Ram?
Yeah, this is the 5 points of bodhicitta.
So if you get to exchange yourself and others in the Lao Ram, this is basically it. This is where you go. I mean, I've been stuck halfway through the teaching, online for a long time, and I was wondering if this, because it's called, the chapter's called the Exchanging Self and Others.
Yep.
So this
Okay.
is where it's going, is to,
Yeah, that is about exchanging self for others, but, I have an opinion about that.
okay,
And my opinion merely is that we can make that very intellectual, like I inhale the black smoke of Boise and all the negativity, and I exhale back white smoke to say, may Boise be a happier place. I just find that very intellectual. What I would do is I would sort of inhale, well, just inhale Boise that I'm interdependent with, and I'll exhale back happiness. May they have happiness, the cause of happiness. It's less intellectual, it's more based on your feelings. But again, that's my opinion. I clarify that. But there's lots of visualizations one can do. I like simplistic that touches my feelings. Okay. Other questions, commentaries? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like your idea of Tom Land bringing in, reading in the interdependence. That's so different than the way I've been taught about the black smoke and reading out the white smoke. Is it the same practice really? Because the smoke doesn't necessarily have a lot of interdependence in it the way it's normally taught. So could you elaborate a little bit more on the interdependence aspect of that?
Okay, okay, so yes, I've attended all those teachings of the black smoke, and there's a rock in your heart that's a hard rock, and you inhale and you crack the rock open, and I think, and again, I just think like there's a great meditation there, but it's been made very intellectual with lots of imagery, and maybe you don't touch your feelings. So, for example, okay, I have a lady friend in Canada, and she got breast cancer. And she had to have a double mastectomy. And so she was really sad. And like, I mean, you know, she's, I had a nice body and I was an attractive person. Suddenly I lost 2 parts of myself, you know? I mean, so she was really sad. So what she did was, though, she said, you know, I'm being really egocentric about it. It's just poor me. Because she was a Buddhist. So then she said, well, wow, you know, I mean, I know the pain of this. And so she brought to mind all the women that are having breast cancer. And she just brought them to mind with no special thing, just saying, wow, all these women. And she inhaled, and then she exhaled her love to all of them. She said it wasn't very complicated. It was just like, I understand you. Inhale this, exhale that. Now, she didn't get healed. She did die of her cancer. But she did share with me at the end of her life, she said, at least I had a good sense of peace about what had happened to me and how I experienced things. And that's what this meditation gave me. It gave me love for everybody, that I actually felt a really heartfelt love for all the women that had breast cancer. Okay, so in regards to, Tonglen is incredibly beautiful practice, okay? So let's say, you know, I have a heart problem. I can, oh, poor John Pum, where's my medication? And my cardiologist made a mistake, and blah, 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 like that, okay? Or I can say, wow, all the people that have heart problems and maybe that had a bad cardiologist, you know, may you have good cardiologists. Just simplistic version of it, but it really is, I'm full of love for those people. That's that, then depends whatever your thing is, you know, like for example, I mean, Michael and I don't have much hair anymore. You know, so we could say, for all the poor people that are going bald, may they have hair. No, I'm just joking, but it is interesting. Anyway, so does that answer your question a little bit?
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I touch it with an issue that I have. You know, like I have the heart problem, or I have another issue, or you know, maybe in my marriage is trouble. Okay, then I inhale all the men that I can think of that don't understand their wives. And I totally love them. I totally understand them. Anyway, so that's it is Tonglen. It just took away a lot of the imagery that maybe made it too intellectual. Okay, yeah.
I teach Tonglen a lot, and I try to give people a lot of options, as you've mentioned. I come up with as many of them as I can. Say, pick the one that works for you and do that one, instead of, you know, sticking with the black cloud one. And the other thing is that people of color have a pretty tough time sometimes with the black cloud idea. It's like they're kind of tired of being told that black is bad. And so finding some option in the analogy is a useful thing.
Uh-huh, good. Actually, there's a question online about, can we really be altruistic? I think that the foundation of being altruistic is the ability to empathize. You don't need to sort of say, I'm going to save the world. You just have to have an ability to say, whoa, that must hurt. And then, without taking too much effort, your heart goes to them. So the ability to cognize another person's situation, even if you don't have it in yourself, but at least you cognize, wow, that sincerity does make you an altruistic person. And it's not egocentric because you're touching another person's pain, another person's situation, So I just share, that was a question online, to just say, altruism, I think, is a true emotion. It's not false, it's not egocentric. I'm altruistic, I'm a nice person because everyone will like me. Yeah, you can think that way, it's not very nice, but the thing. Whereas if you really just care for others, you allow yourself to empathize. Ooh, that must hurt. Then you have this authentic foundation of your altruism, okay? Okay.
I was just going to comment on when we were talking about judgment. I found that judgment, it's really tricky sometimes to see this.
Yes?
Yeah, it's very subtle.
Yeah, no, they have to be careful because there is, you could say, discerning wisdom or the ability to understand something. It doesn't have to be judgmental, but that's the fine line, because you could say, well, that was really stupid, then you're being judgmental, whereas you can say, ooh, that person thought it was a good thing to do, but wasn't so good. So it has to do with the emotion and feeling behind it, which sometimes can be hard, but that's where if you do practices to become more positive, like Avalokiteshvara or Manipamihom practice, you could establish a very good foundation of arriving at a good critical mind, but it's not judgmental. So it takes time. I mean, these are lifetime practices. This isn't something we just get tomorrow morning, we practice for a whole life. Okay. Now, we're gonna finish at 3:30, because I get tired, I'm sorry, I'm old now. Okay, so, I want to cover the last one, but I only want to do one part of it. Okay, so we are talking about the mind and its functions. So, we talked about the mind, we talked about the philosophy we have about our mind, about our sense of self, or however you want to refer to it. We then talked about how to work with ourselves in a good way. Okay, so we've covered those, like how to change our attitude and being a little bit more that my mind and its functions, I have a good foundation for my practice. Okay, tomorrow we're going to cover karma, which is to give us also maybe some good understandings about how to work with ourselves. Okay, but that's tomorrow. So the final one then was these 5 steps, which for me are the gold foundation. They're just incredible. Even the Dalai Lama says that the 5 steps that are coming more from Chandrapurti and Shantideva are really good. The next set of 7 are more complicated, but I only want to touch on one. Okay, so again, this is sort of an abbreviated presentation. So number 1 is equalizing yourself with others, friend, enemy, and stranger. I'm not going to go into that because it's a long conversation. Lama Zopa Rinpoche has a really good presentation on that. If you go to fpnt.org and some of Lama Zopa's talks, he will talk a lot about equalizing self with others and how friend, enemy, and stranger are just such a, you could say, egocentric point of view. You help me, oh, you're my friend. You don't help me, you're my enemy. And you don't do anything for me, you're a stranger. It's so funny, like, you're meaningless to me because you don't do anything for me. And if you do something nice, oh, you're my friend. And if you do something bad, I hate you. Anyway, okay, so that's sort of the simple version of that. The next one is perceiving all beings as your mother, or sorry, remembering the kindness of your mother, sorry, it's number 2, remembering the kindness of your mother. Now, why, that's difficult, because it goes into that all sentient beings have been your mother. So Michael at some point was my mother, and I was at one point Michael's mother. Because it's infinite time, there's lots of opportunity for that to happen. And then same thing with you, Terry, that like you were one time my mother, one time I was your mother. You know, be it complicated. But rather than looking at that side of it, what would be the benefit of reflecting on your mother? Now, there are people in situations where this doesn't work, okay? I remember there's a German nun named Ursula, and her mother was a monster. She said the only good thing that happened was her mother gave her to her grandmother, and that gave her love. But he said her own mother was just a horrible person. So that one didn't work, and even she talked to the Dalai Lama about that. The Dalai Lama just said, choose somebody that's nice. But, so I will categorize this a little bit to say, for most of us, this meditation will work, but for some of us, it won't, okay? So, now, why would we do this, okay? The reason for it is because you're going to touch an emotion inside of you, which is very powerful, okay? Now, what is that emotion? Well, generally speaking, there's only one person that's ever loved you totally, and that's your mother. No, serious. Like, so to go back to the days you got pregnant, you know, and maybe you could, if you've been a mother, or if you want to be a mother or something, you could reflect on it. Like, just think of how your emotions would be if you got pregnant and you go, wow, I have a baby inside of me, and I'm so happy, and I'm so, wow, you know, and you can get a sort of tingles in your body to say, well, you know, this is so great, you know. Well, your mother had that, you know, for most of our mothers, you know, that she got pregnant. She said, oh, wow, my little baby, you know, see. And then she changed her diet, and she maybe, you know, did special exercises and stuff like this. So for 9 months, your mother was so concerned with you, that you grow up well, that you're taken care of, and this and that. And you have to reflect on that. You have to go through, you know, reflecting on bring your mind to your mother to your mind, and try to, you know, I mean, touch the emotions that she would have had. She has a baby inside of her, you know. I mean, actually, my mother, I was born September the 23rd. If you go back 9 months, it's December. I bet my mom and dad got drunk, celebrating Christmas, and then I got conceived. Anyway, but it's the thing. But the thing is, so your mother then, anyway, she got pregnant, and then she started to think about you a lot. You know, she just put a lot of emphasis to you, you know. You, my baby, you know, how you're going to be, you know, I mean, nowadays, you know, maybe mothers, they put headphones on their pregnant stomach and play Beethoven or something, you know. I think it's Beethoven. Anyway, so the thing is, I mean, all sorts of stuff. So there was a woman that when you were conceived, she only thought about you. Nobody thinks about you that much. Even you don't think about yourself that much, you know, but she thought about you. You know, wow, I've got your baby inside, you know. She'd stroke her stomach and think of you with warm thoughts and such like that. You know, there's that. So that, and then, so you have to go through that, you know, slowly, and maybe reflect on different times when your mother might have, you know, maybe it's the summertime, it's really hot. She's got this huge stomach, you know, she can't even sleep properly, and you're kicking her and stuff, but she just loves you. She, oh, my darling baby, you know, you're full of life, you know, like that. So interesting. So then you do that. And then you come to the time that she's going to give birth to you. And so then, you know, like it's pretty terrifying, you know, I mean, like giving birth and all of the things, you know, I mean, first the water breaks, and your mother's like, totally, get me to the hospital, please, you know, whatever. So think about that woman, you know, she's so concerned and things, and she goes, and then I remember I went when my stepson's partner was having her baby. I went to the maternity hospital, and I walked down the alleyway, the corridor, and all I could hear was this groaning. Every room was groaning. All these women in terrible pain, like, you did this to me, you horrible man. Like all these things, you know. Anyway, it was like a hell realm. I thought, my God, this is incredible. You know, all this thing. Anyway, and so, but then so your mother was there, you know, like, you know, her all of the process of actually giving birth and things. Maybe she had a spinal tap where she sort of stopped the pain, or maybe she didn't, you know. But the most incredible thing, whether it took 2 or 3 hours or took 5 hours or whatever, and it was, I mean, this huge thing coming out of her body and all of the incredible trauma of that and the things. The first thing she did was she said, "How's my baby?" She just immediately like, "How's my baby?" Not about, "You blasted little kid, look what you did to me." No, it's just totally you, you, how are you? Or do you have the 5 fingers and 5 toes, like whatever, so that, like, incredible. There's a woman, that's what that woman did, She just like totally like, "Is my baby okay?" And she put you on her breast, and I mean, you're totally, goopy and everything like that. And she's just full of love for you, wow. And so you do that, and then if you continue, then of course you think about your mother. Again, this applies to most of our mothers. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that aren't like this, but then as you then grow up, I mean, you have no control. You pee and you poo on her, you have to be fed all the time. But she's just full of love, I mean, she gives you her own breast milk, and then again, you make yourself dirty and she cleans you up. She doesn't complain about it, just, "Okay, take care of my darling baby." That was you. She was doing that for you, cleaning you and wiping you up and feeding you, and then, holding your 2 little fingers with your hands and, "Oh, my darling little baby boy, oh yes, oh my darling little baby girl," like that, and so you go through those, and what happens though, is that inside of you, you touch an emotion which is unbelievable. It's the love of somebody for you. It's the love of your mother for you. And that is an incredibly powerful emotion, because you're touching on that this person really cared for me. I mean, like I say, no one has loved you as much as your mother. Absolutely. I mean, whether you marry somebody or you have a boyfriend or girlfriend or your brother or your sister, yeah, they might be very nice to you, but none of them loved you as much as mommy did, Now, in doing that meditation, what you end up with, though, is that you've touched a very powerful emotion in yourself. And that is very beneficial for your spiritual practice, because you've touched this sort of very powerful love, care for another, and it was embodied by your mother. So I wanted to just touch on that to say that of the styles of meditation to be beneficial or altruistic with others and such like that, the first 5 points, like we all want happiness, none of us want to suffer. Yeah, that's good. And then the disadvantages of being egocentric, the advantages of being more connected and friendly and warm, and such. Those are very good techniques, and they're quite realistic, But if you want to bring a lot of feeling in, then you shift over to the mother meditation. Now, one thing that's sort of interesting, though, and I would estimate that most of our mothers were in that category, that they were deliberately focused on us. But they are just a sentient being. And then as they grow older and such, or whatever, as we grow up, they could become complicated, because they're just a sentient being. They just want to be happy and they don't want to suffer. And so could be in the latter phases of your life, your mother becomes a very complicated person. That's not impossible. But at one point, though, she did really love you. So the meditation is more about you touching a very powerful emotion. And again, if it works, good, and if it doesn't, it's okay. It's not like it's a necessity. But I just wanted to share, I think that the mother meditation does really, you can touch this profound feeling of that somebody loved me with no strings attached. I mean, hopefully, my mother totally focused on me. And nobody has loved you as much as that person, okay? So that's all I wanted to do with this particular, just to touch on that for this point. You do have the Treasure Valley Dharma Society. You have classes and teachings here, or maybe in other cities where you live. So you can slowly practice these things and stuff. But I just wanted to touch on that, okay? So having said that, are there any questions or commentaries? Or are we going to do a walking meditation? But we will do, but first, is any questions, commentaries? Oh, sorry, yes.
Going back to the Dalai Lama's comment about just find a nice person if you had a complicated relationship with your mother. But you don't have that same intensity of relationship with the other nice person. So that doesn't seem like an adequate substitute. Do you follow what I'm saying?
No, not quite.
There are many people who don't have close relationships with their mother,
Yeah,
okay? So making it meditation work is a little more difficult. And you said that the Dalai Lama had said, well, just find somebody else who's a nice person.
yeah,
But you don't have that same intensity with another nice person.
that's right.
So basically, just don't do that meditation, is what you're saying.
Yeah, if it's difficult for a variety of reasons, yeah, then maybe the meditation won't work for you, because you are looking at doing something that is benefit you, make you have a nice warm heart, a nice warm feeling about yourself. And so, yeah, if it doesn't work, if you can't, if the circumstances for you to do that aren't very available, then yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, the exchanging self for others meditation is much better. I mean, it's more realistic. I can look at Wilson and I don't get the idea that he's my mummy, you know. But, you know, I can certainly look at Wilson and say, hey man, he and I both have heart surgery. He and I both have had taken medications. I love Wilson because he's a nice guy and we've had a lot in common. So it works much easier for me that way. Definitely, yeah, I agree with you.
John,
Yeah.
just a quick comment. So I did see a program on the science channels about Tom, basically, and one physicist that actually ascertained that when you're really feeling altruistic, you've got a lot of compassion, that there are really large blood energy particles that emanate from you. And so that was, you know, I made that comment just to support what you said previously, that many of these practices, in fact, are now being validated by experiments in quantum theory.
Well, thank you. Interesting.
Well, I was just gonna say that sometimes, it's sort of a spontaneous thing, and I'm not sure if it's exactly the same, but I'll feel so much gratitude, to the Dalai Lama and different teachers, that fills my heart with a lot of love that I can send out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, it's, we have to be intelligent about what's going to work for us and not. So yes, I mean, His Holiness, yeah, His Holiness is very, very special. And I can think of several lamas, I mean, that really motivate me a lot. So yes. Anyway, so good, yes.
Maybe I thought of the all beings my mother. The first time I ever heard the phrase, it was in one of our chambers we sat in all beings my mother. I was like, whoa, that's amazing. But I think that usually I have thought of it as, oh, therefore I should love them and be, kind toward them because they were my mothers. But today, as you went through it, the primary thing is that the mother loves me. Not, I love the mother in return, in a sense. In other words, so if all beings are my mothers, all beings love me. That's a profound connection with the whole universe, with all beings. That it's very much a two-way street, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or we just simply call it connection or interrelationship. But to put them in, and love's not just a la emotion. It's very biological and it's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have that, to realize that we are children of Mother Earth, let's say, and loved in that way, that helps set us straight.
Yeah. Just a comment that, yes, really you want to say, hey, as much as my mother loved me and tried to care for me, all sentient beings at some point have been my mother, may I repay. Okay, that's the sort of normal progression. But with the years of meditation I've done, I just found that it was really interesting to actually find somebody that really loved me. And I went like, wow, and then something happens inside of me, some chemistry inside of me. And that's what I found really interesting, was this, that it opened up part of me in a way that I never expected. So that was one of the something I wanted to touch with today, was just that there's this, there can be for some of us this incredibly powerful place of like, wow, my mother was a really sweet woman, you know? And it just touches you really deeply. Anyway. Yes, Wilson.
I've heard of a recent study, double-blinded, where therapists were taught to do loving kindness meditation and did that with their clients during a session. Some did, some didn't, yet there were measurable psychological differences in those who did, even though they never told the clients they were doing this. So there's some sort of a connection there, not readily explainable to people.
Good.
And the benefits to the clients are both.
In the clients, but probably the therapists do.
Well, there's statistics that definitely if a therapist cares for their client, the client is much more benefited than just a therapist who sort of is there but not really participating, not emotionally connecting. Yeah, there's statistics on that. Anyway, okay, we're going to meditate for 5 minutes, and then we're going to do a walking meditation for 5 minutes, okay? So we get a little bit of both. So remember, meditation is we park our body to be comfortable for a little while. It doesn't get in the way or bother us. And as we feel our body is comfortable, we shift our attention to our breathing, and you can do it at your nose if you wish, which is a very common breathing meditation, but there are some statistics that say doing it at your chest is actually a little better. And at first you can just focus on an inhalation, exhalation. But if your attention gets a little more sensitive, you can actually just pick up on a continual arisal of sensation, and you can shift your attention to that as you wish. And as we continue to meditate, yes, it can be a little difficult to maintain attention, but if we just again and again return to our natural breathing and the movement of our chest, we will slowly accomplish longer periods of time of attention. It's a process of familiarity and a little bit of discipline. And as we continue to meditate, we can do a simple version of the giving and taking. So just inhale all that Boise is, the grocery stores, the people and everything. I am interdependent with that. And exhale, may they all have happiness and the cause of happiness. Inhale my interdependence. Exhale my expression of interdependence. May everybody have happiness, even the animals and insects have happiness and the cause of happiness. Bringing our awareness to our breathing. End our meditation with some positive thoughts and feelings. By my effort in meditation, participating oi in the morning and in the afternoon, I dedicate it to a more enlightened life. And I offer that for the benefit of all. So we're going to do a walking meditation. If you'd like to just, the two chairs, we'll do it because we can't go up there. So we do it around here, past Wilson, around and around here. So there, so how we're going to do this, here. Okay, so when you stand, you put your left hand on your stomach, your right hand on top of that. Bend your knees just a little bit. And then if you remember, you shift your weight to the left leg, move the right leg forward, then you shift your weight to the right leg forward. And it's mindfulness. It's not like big deal. I'm just mindful of myself. Okay, so anyway, please, we'll get in a circle. We're going this way. Okay. Take one breath. You're aware of your body. Now shift your weight, in this case to your right leg, and then you step forward with the left, but trying to maintain the weight of the right leg, then you shift over to the left leg, slowly, and you move the right leg forward. You're trying to have this constant sense of supporting yourself. That's the object of the mindfulness. How you accomplish that is just bending your knees ever so slightly and shifting your weight so that you can stand on one leg alone, if it's comfortable. Then you move the other leg forward, so you never stop having the sensation of supporting yourself as you're walking. That's the object of the mindfulness. Now, as you maintain that sense of being present, supporting the weight of your body from your left leg to your right leg, also appreciate that you're moving through the atmosphere. We're no different than fish in the ocean. We're like actually crabs on the bottom of the ocean floor. But expand your consciousness to say, well, I'm moving through this atmosphere. I'm interdependent of this atmosphere. May I be a benefit?
So come to a standstill. Standing on both your legs. Have your knees bent just a little bit so you can feel the weight of your body. You are present, you are standing. And then we can return to our seats.
Speed you're supposed to go. For walking meditation, very slow. So, now, if you are really a liberated person, come to Mexico, September the 25th to October the 5th or 6th or something like that, 10-day retreat in Mexico with me. We do lots of meditation and walking meditation, and also we do teachings and things. It's not, the retreat is not about making you a Buddhist, no. The retreat is about getting in touch with yourself, feeling good about who you are, being more present and mindful, having a good heart. That's the nature of the retreat. So if you're interested at all, please consider coming. I can say that, Terry's come and Susan has come, and actually Yule and Liz came one time to Morelia, and then Tim and John, and I don't remember if I missed anybody, forgive me, but anyway, so they're very nice. Fern, she went. So the thing is that if you'd like to, 10 days, it's in a very beautiful, it's in a Catholic seminary. You'll all have a private room with a private bath. It's about 35 or 40 people that attend. I give the classes in English, and then Nayeli, my translator, she turns it to Spanish for the Mexicans that are attending. 10 days, it's in silence. Not that we take away your cell phones or anything, but we encourage you to be silent and meditative and contemplative. And you get lots of nice Mexican food. So anyway, just if you feel like, wow, why don't I do something outrageous? You'd fly into Mexico City, and then from there, right in the airport, you can get a bus up to Querétaro. And from Querétaro, then Valerie, who's the organizer, she would arrange for you to be picked up and taken to the retreat center. It's a very nice place with it's up on a little bit of a higher rise, looking down upon a huge lake. And in this lake, there's these big islands of reeds that float around. And we're talking huge, like the size of a city block. And because of the wind, it'll blow from over to this side of the lake and come back to this side of the lake. It's very, very picturesque.
John, we're flying to Leon. We're flying to Leon, Mexico.
Oh, you can fly into Leon, even better.
We're flying to Leon, and then Valerie arranges the cars from there.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Mexico City to Querétaro, that's the San Miguel one-day retreat.
Well, okay, it can be both, but you're right, Leon is the, okay, good. Anyway, so that concludes the day. Tomorrow, we'll have a shorter class, and then we have a picnic or, sort of a potluck together. I guess the class is here, and then we'll walk across the room.
No, I think, John, that they're gonna have teachings here for the temple tomorrow, so we should, if you can stay and clean up tonight, we'll have it across. They do have tables and chairs over there that we can set up. So if a couple volunteers can come early,